This is how we're going to do it, Tommy, because this is the most impartial way we can do it. We're going to do this in categories, and whichever skate wins the category, you rise it above the other skate.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like that. Let's go.
All right, let's go. So
Let's go.
First category, we're going to go with... Hey guys, Chris from Hockey Tutorial here, and today in this video we've got a big one for you. We've got the CCM AS-V Pro Custom skates, and we're going to be VSing them against the True SVH Custom skates. Now, in my opinion, these two manufacturers are the top tier manufacturers for hockey skate manufacturing as of 2023 in May. I think CCM and True are kind of doing the best jobs of manufacturing hockey skates to date. Now, that could be a separate video where we go into the details of why I believe that to be so, but what we'll be focusing on in this one is if you're considering picking up two of the best custom skates that you can get on the market, which ones should you consider picking up and why? Now, the way that I wanted to break this video down is going to be into categories because I feel like it's the best way to stop me from rambling on and getting off topic. So the first topic we're going to be looking at when we break into these skates is going to be the design of both of them. Now, I know with custom skates, it's about the fit, the comfort, we're going to be coming to that, but we can't start without looking at the design of both of these skates. Now, when we look at the True SVH skates, these over here are, you could consider them your kind of like traditional classic pro looking product where it's just all blacked out, lots of carbon, nothing on the skate that doesn't really need to be there. But when we look at the CCM skates, the design of these ones is a lot more playful because it allows you to do kind of what you want to do with the skate. Whatever color scheme you want to go for, whatever kind of options you want to throw on there, if it's chucking your number onto the back of the boot, it's a non-performance benefit of adding that to the skate, but it's personalizing the skate to make it feel like it's more my product. And I feel like when you have the name custom in a product, you need to add an element that means that no one else is going to have this because it's bespoke to me. So I think CCM in that instance have done a great job of making this a custom product with the design. But of course, if you do like that pro carbon blacked out look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these, but I know that it's an instance of either love them or hate the design. The Trues I'm quite happy with. I don't really have any issues with the design of these skates. I think they look great, but I'm not going to lie, the CCM does hit it out the park with allowing you to add your custom color options and of course being able to add your number to the back of the boot. It's not like something that makes a difference on the ice, but it looks cool and it makes it feel more mine. So in terms of design, have to give it to CCM with this one. Now, when we move away from the design of both of these skates and we focus on something that actually affects the fit, the comfort, the performance on the ice, it's going to be the build. Now, with the True SVH skates, these are a completely different manufacturing process than what we see from CCM's AS-V Pro skates. Now, something I do have to mention is the way the AS-V Pro skates from CCM are manufactured is going to be a very, very similar way to the other manufacturers out there, like for example, Bauer, how they manufacture their custom skates. It starts with a pre-existing skate shell. In CCM's case, it's a one-piece boot. Bauer, of course, is still using a two-piece construction. That's a separate video as well, one piece versus two piece, but I don't want to digress too much. But essentially, both those manufacturers start off with a pre-existing skate shell, and what they do is they scan your foot, they then build a replica of your foot using either foams or 3D printing, and then that representation of your foot is used to adapt the pre-existing skate shell to better fit your feet, and that's how you get this custom skate from CCM and also Bauer. Now, this is going to be a big improvement from what you get from just a retail CCM skate, but you have to bear in mind that it's a pre-existing shell that is then being adapted to fit your foot shape, rather than True's method, specifically with the SVH skates, not the Catalyst Pros. What they're doing with this is they scan your foot, they create a representation of your foot, either with foams or 3D printing, but then instead of using a pre-existing skate shell and adapting it to fit your foot better in terms of making adjustments to the liners, the foams, what type of foams are used, what shape, taking material away, adding it, that's what CCM do. True are essentially taking that mold of your foot and then building the skate from scratch from the inside out, layer by hand, which is a completely different manufacturing process than what we see in CCM's AS-V Pro skates. Now, while this is a hand process, and CCM's is a predominantly machine-based manufacturing process, there's pros and cons to using these construction methods. Now, True's means that the fit is, excuse the pun, a true custom skate. It is built exactly to the shape of your foot. And if you even look at the shape of the back of the skate, how the carbon fiber's been layered, how all these weird little bumps and grooves and bits that are popping out all over the structure of the skate, that's not because it's been handmade, it's because that's what my foot looks like. Whereas if we look at the construction method with the CCM's one-piece boot shell, it's a lot more retail, it's a lot more refined, it's a lot more pretty. This is much, much smoother, nowhere near as anatomically correct as what we see in True's SVH skates. Although the ASV Pro skates are a very comfortable fitting skate, and we will come to that, it's just important to touch on the construction or the building process with both of these skates. This is a construction that looks very, very nice, very clean, and you can almost see that this is a machine manufacturing process. This looks a little bit more unpolished, unrefined, but it's still clean, it's still got that carbon because it is a handmade, hand-layered building process with the True SVH skates. Now, the advantages and disadvantages of this process is if you were, for example, to order 10 pairs of SVH custom skates from True, those pairs are all going to perform pretty much identically, they're all going to fit identically, but the way that they look, the way that they're built, the way that everything sits on the skate might be a little bit different because they're handmade, hand-layered, layer by layer from the inside out. Whereas CCM's is that one-piece boot shell, and it's then being adapted to fit your foot shape, predominantly using machines to be able to do so. There's a bit of a hand-made element to these as well, but it is predominantly machine-based. That means that if you were to order 10 pair of these, they'd pretty much all look exactly the same as the previous pair. You might even have a bit of trouble telling the difference between them. Now, the advantage of that is you always get the exact same consistency with this product. But with these ones over here, you can't really say that the consistency isn't good, because it is, and True do have a great quality control process. But essentially, because this is handmade, there is going to be a little bit of a difference in the consistency of each skate variant versus what you would get with these. Now, that's the benefit that CCM have using the construction method that they use. It's very consistent, and they can make sure that everything is essentially the same as the last one. Now with True, what's the benefit of using the handmade layering process that they have? It's in the fit. It's very clear to see that, like when I showed you the structure of the skate, the way it looks compared to a skate that uses a different construction method. It's all in the fit, it's all in the comfort. You're not going to get a skate that wraps around your foot, that eliminates negative space, that has essentially every part, every area of your foot inside the skate in contact with a part of the skate. This skate over here essentially then results in feeling like an extension of your own foot. Nothing on the market will fit like this boot over here. And it's so hard to explain that on video if you've never been able to put a pair of custom Trues on. Now, I'm not trying to knock the CCMs. The ASV Pro skates are a phenomenal pair of skates. They perform incredibly well. But in terms of fit, because of that build process that CCM uses versus the build process that True uses, there is just nothing that is going to be comparable in terms of the fit and the comfort from this skate over here. Now that leads us really nicely onto the options when you're selecting one of these skates. Now, we filmed videos where we went to see CCM and we ordered a pair of these ASV Pro skates with CCM, and we went through every single option, so you can see exactly what you can do with these skates when you're ordering them. We did the exact same thing with True, went through all of the options with True. Those videos are going to be linked down below in the video description, so you can go through them step by step. You can see what the price looks like, you can see what the order process looks like, the time frame, and also all of the options that you can have. But in a nutshell, essentially constructing a CCM skate does have a few more options than what you would get with True's SVH Custom skates. These skates over here allow you to not only select the type of liners that you have, whether you want the typical pro liners or the more retail liners, you can also select the shape of the foams inside the liners. So there's a lot of ins and outs that you can do with this skate over here versus this one in terms of the options, and of course the design of the boot. You can do that with CCM. You can't do that with True. The way it looks is the way it looks. But of course, True's ethos and their DNA is about the fit, the performance, the experience that you have in those skates, which is a little bit different from what CCM do. But in a nutshell, there's more options here when you're ordering than there is with the True SVH from CCM versus True. Now that leads us really nicely onto the comfort of both of these skates. After having covered the build of these two boots, the way that they're built, of course, it's pretty easy to see how that lies in terms of fit and comfort. But again, this isn't me taking a knock at CCM's construction method. There's a reason why I said these two manufacturers are the best at what they do. Now, although in a nutshell, the True skate feels like an extension of your foot on the ice, it fits unlike any other skate that I've ever used on the ice, aside from VH, which of course, as we know, is what's evolved into True. It's definitely worth mentioning that the shape of these two boots is completely different, and that does definitely affect the comfort that you experience. If you look at the CCM AS-V Pros, these have a much more traditional boot-like construction. The shape of them is a little bit more traditional in the sense that it's quite an upright skate. It's not so aggressive. Now, if we look at the forefoot area around this part of the boot over here, you can even see how this particular section of the skate doesn't contour and wrap and sit as flush and flat as what you see in the SVH skates from True. The foot wrapping that you get with these skates is definitely a lot more extreme than what you see in the AS-V Pro skates from CCM. Now, aside from that, you can also see the angle of this boot is a lot more aggressive. You're a lot more over the balls of your feet, kind of like over your toes, which is a particular skating position or style that isn't for everyone. If you're the type of player that doesn't like to be kind of over the balls of your feet when you're on the ice, just naturally, not because of the blade profile or particular blade or runner that you're using, but purely because the boot is just angled and cut that way, straight out of the box, that means it's going to be a completely different experience if this is what you're used to versus this. Now, I've skated a very long time in CCM skates. I've also dabbled with what True have created in the past, and there is an adjustment period that you need to be able to have, and a lot of players aren't as open-minded to be able to go from using one manufacturer and jumping straight into bed with another one. But these particular boots over here, if this shape is something that you can get on with, that you can adapt with and kind of perform with, it is a very comfortable and incredibly well-fitting boot to be able to use. Now, saying that, if you're the type of player that doesn't like that cut, it kind of makes the fit and comfort section of this video very easy for you to figure out what to do with. If this particular boot shape is what you like this section of the eyelets to be a little bit more opened out. Even if I turn them to the side, you'll see what I mean. These sit a lot more open, a lot more relaxed than what you see in the SVH skates from True. If I do the exact same thing with these boots over here, you can see the eyelets on these really wrap over the top of your foot, and the section over here on the top of the boot over here, again, really punches and wraps in. Now, this isn't going to be something that's going to be for everyone, but if you're wondering kind of like how these two compare in terms of the fit and comfort, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Now, aside from the shape of these boots and the adjustment period that you might have if you're used to this and you're coming across to this, or maybe you don't like this and you'd rather stick with this, there's also the mention of the liners. Now, when we talked about the options, I said that you could select the shape of the foams that you used with the CCM AS-V Pros, but the general construction of the boot has been great. It's been incredibly comfortable. There's only one area of the AS-V Pro skate that is insanely different in terms of the liners, not just the shape of the boot, but the liners when you look at the SVH skates from True. Now, that's going to be in the top or the high neck area of the skate. CCM, of course, have this lovely comfort pad, and you can select real cushiony big foams inside the ankle area of the skate, which is great. But the area between the top of the ankle and where the comfort pad begins essentially has no foam, no padding at all. It's just a liner, a little bit of soft fabric material. There's no padding there. Now, for me, if I'm in the skates for half an hour, 45 minutes, that's kind of the max for me inside the custom CCMs. Because of that area at the top of the skate where just before the comfort pad and where the kind of like cushioning of the ankle support ends, you have that kind of, I'm going to call it a dead zone where there's no padding. After a certain amount of time on the ice, this can become a bit of an irritation for myself. Now, with the Trues, they don't actually have a comfort pad, but the way that they manufacture their liners a little bit differently from CCM. The liner, the padding that sits around your ankle, all of that extends from the base of the skate all the way to the top high neck area of the skate. There isn't an area between the edge of the skate and say your ankle bone that isn't padded. That padding goes the whole way up, which means essentially when you're looking at how these sit on your ankle bone, I just find especially the high ankle area of my foot has a much better experience in these skates, especially if I'm on the ice for a long time or a long period of time filming. There was a time that I referenced I was on the ice for about 6 hours shooting videos and I didn't think about my skates, which was testament to what they've done with the liners over here. Now, this isn't me saying that these a negative with these boots over here. These just subtle differences that I know when you go on a website that you can't see, that you can't get that type of information. So I'm not nitpicking, I'm just trying to explain that these two skates are just constructed so differently. They're both hockey skates, they have similarities. Somebody that isn't really involved in hockey would kind of just assume that these are both very similar things, just different designs. But the construction of these two boots is worlds apart, and it's what I wanted to try and demonstrate in this video. The way that True do things is very different to the way that CCM do things. And I'm not saying that this is what everyone needs to get. This type of construction might not work for everyone, but so far it's been a breath of fresh air to step into something uniquely different to what we're typically used to. But at the same time saying that, these are fantastic skates as well, and I've been in CCMs for many, many years, but there's just a couple of subtle differences that I would never have known had I not used the CCM ASV Pros and then jumped into the custom SVH skates from True. I wouldn't have known that that high ankle area issue that I just discussed would have kind of been something that I've just been like, that's just the way it is. But after trying these, it's like, oh, it's actually a little bit different in these ones. So hopefully it was worth me highlighting that in this video. Now, when we look at the durability of both of these two skates, that's going to be a very hot topic. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is the advantage of essentially having the free will to discuss the issues that I've experienced in both of these skates with you openly without having to be concerned about saying something that the manufacturers are going to kind of like come at me for later, because that's not something that they're going to do, because at the end of the day, I'm not doing anything disrespectfully. It's just being honest. Now, with True skates, I have definitely seen in the past where holders and boots have been separating, but I have to mention, in all of the pictures I've seen and videos I've seen of this happening, the holders, in terms of the rivets or the bolts that hold the holder to the boot of the skate, are always severely rusted. Now, this can come from lack of maintenance. If you've been on the ice all week, it's always important to pull that footbed out of your skates. Let your skates dry naturally. Don't, force heat into them to destroy the liners, to get them to dry aggressively. It's just nice to put them somewhere cool, somewhere dry, so they can get some air circulating around them and dry out. So a lot of that can be prevented in terms of holder separations by just looking after your skates. But something else True have done with these over here is upgraded all of the rivets to stainless steel. So that means essentially corrosion, oxidization of the blade, or rusting. None of that is going to happen in the SVH skates as of to date. True as a brand, over the last year, I'm going to say the beginning of 2022, I saw a lot of changes in the way that they were manufacturing their products, the way that they presented their products to the audience. They've had a lot of growing up and a lot of evolving to do over the last few years. And it was in 2022 that they kind of got my attention, and I was like, they're doing something different and I really want to take a look at what they have. So it's important to mention that those issues can be resolved by looking after your skates, but also the nice upgrade that you have with the SVH Customs is that they are, not only are they black rivets, but they're also stainless steel. So oxidization, none of that is going to be an issue moving forward with these particular types of skates. Now, in terms of the durability generally, it's very hit and miss. How long a pair of skates is going to last you is like asking how long are the tires on your car going to last you. That depends on how aggressively you drive your car, what surfaces you're driving on, weather conditions, the weight of the car. All of this will affect the durability of a product. With skates, you'll hear stories of people using CCM skates for years and they've never broken down. Some people use them for half a season and they break down rapidly quickly. But it really comes down to personal circumstances and how you're using the product. But from the way we use products, myself and Tommy, there's been a lot of similarities in terms of the way that these two skates have held up regarding durability. I will say that the SVH skates being significantly stiffer than what we see in the ASV Pro skates from CCM will of course help the actual boot of the skate last a little bit longer with the Trues, just because they're a little bit stiffer. And if you're a player that likes that, you know exactly where to go with that. But saying that, the issue with the liners is about the only comment that we have in terms of the durability of both of these skates. Neither skate over the course of 3 to 4 months broke down quicker than the other. Now, of course, these aren't the ones that have been used for 3 to 4 months rigorously. That's going to be Tommy's, who I will save for another part of the video where he can break down his experience in these two skates from his perspective. But in terms of durability, a lot of similarities. There's been, I'm going to say, a point awarded to True based on the liners of their skates, just how comfortable they are over a long period of time, them still having a fresh out of the box feel every time you put your foot into it versus what we see in the ASV Pro skates from CCM. But in terms of the quarter package of both of these skates, it's very, very similar in terms of the durability that we've experienced ourselves. Now, when we move into the lower parts of the skates in terms of the holders, like I mentioned with the True, some of the issues that I'd heard of circling on social media, I thought I'd address them quickly. But in terms of the holders themselves, of course, True have their own holder, which is important to mention because a few years ago, I remember people would have to put their own holders on these. But what we see over here, there's been no issues with the durability of this holder in terms of any clicking with the blade or the blade popping out unexpectedly. I'm very, very pleased with the way True's holders have held up over the time that we've been using them, or rather that Tommy's been rigorously testing he's on the ice. But one thing I do have to mention is we noticed with CCM's holders, somewhere around the beginning of this year, the end of last year, the dial on the XS holder was made much bigger, much more tactile, which means that it's a lot easier to remove the blade, switch it out. And CCM's holders do get a plus or a point over True's, because True's, you do need to have some sort of a tool to be able to pull the blade out of the holder. You can slide the lace through the hole, pull the lace back, and then yank at the blade to get it out. but it is much easier to be able to either pop a screwdriver into the little hole on the Shift Max holder to be able to like slide it back and then pop the blade out. If the blade's a little bit stuck in there, you might need to use pliers or something to get it out. I've been able to do it by hand, but in terms of the ease of being able to remove a blade from a holder, the Shift Max holder is great, but the CCM XS holder does make it a little bit easier with the dial system that they have. But now saying that, CCM upgrading this dial, making it bigger and more tactile, we actually had a breakage with our dial, which we've never had before. The dial on my custom skates broke and the dial on Tommy's custom skates also broke as well. We never experienced that with the smaller dials. They were a little bit more finicky, especially if you have big hands to be able to remove the blade, which is clearly not a problem that I have. I have tiny hands, the hands of a 12-year-old, but it's okay. That meant that the progression that we've seen with the dial becoming a little bit bigger, more tactile, easier to use, has that compromised the durability? I'm not sure, but that's me just relaying exactly what happened. Now, that didn't mean we had to replace the whole XS holder. This dial mechanism can be replaced. It's very inexpensive and very quick to do, but we've just never had one break. In all the years since CCM has introduced the XS holder, this one was the first to go on a pair of custom skates, same with Tommy's custom skates, which was just very unusual for us because we've never experienced that. So in that instance, ease of use of the dial and the blade, CCM gets a point, but durability overall, True gets a point. Now that brings us on to the order time of both of these two boots. The order time of our CCM Custom ASV Pros, based on the time of year that we ordered, we were waiting for months. I'm going to say somewhere between 3 months before we got our pair of skates. Now, of course I have to mention that the size of the two companies, CCM versus True, although True in my eyes is the third hockey manufacturer out there, I think it goes CCM, True, Bauer, in my opinion. The size of CCM versus True is something that needs to be considered. CCM did take a very long time to get our skates out to us, somewhere between 3 and 4 months. True's took under 10 working days, which is just insane. It is insane. Based on the construction method being handmade layer by layer from the inside out, I assumed it would take ages to get them. I couldn't believe how quickly I got the skates. I was very, very pleased with how they arrived, exactly what I wanted. They look better than what I expected, so very, very pleased with the production time it took to be able to get my hands on these. But saying that, these did take 3 to 4 months to arrive, but when they did and I popped them out of the box, I couldn't believe how slick they looked. They looked exactly like I designed them on CCM's 3D software in terms of looking at all the different color schemes, where I wanted my number to be on the back of the boot, the color matching the Hockey Tutorial logo. Everything was exactly like the way I wanted it, which was really, really nice. So order time definitely goes to True. Very, very quick at getting the skates out to you globally. That's not just because we're reviewing them. That's a similar story that I've heard from a lot of people that have ordered custom skates from True. Now, in terms of the price, I'm going to put that on screen so you can see the price, because this will differ based on what type of options you add to your own skates. It's why it's nice to be able to kind of go through the configuration process to see what your total looks like, because it'll be different for everyone. But I'll put the price up on the screen so you can see that. And also in terms of the weight of both of these two boots, that's something else that's going to be very, very important. I think a lot of it is in your head. Regardless of which one of these two skates is heavier than the other one, once you put them on the ice and you're skating, you don't feel it. It's not something that you notice. And the type of steel that you have on your skates will also massively affect the weight of the skate. If it's steel that has that DLC coating that looks nice and sleek, it's going to be much, much heavier than just a traditional stainless steel blade. That's always worth noting. This is how we're going to do it, Tommy, because this is the most impartial way we can do it. We're going to do this in categories, and whichever skate wins the category, you rise it above the other skate.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like that. Let's go.
All right, let's go. So
let's go.
First category, we're going to go with the design category. Who wins design?
Design.
Hands down, yeah?
Hands down. Look how pretty they are.
Okay, fine. Now we're going to go with build process rather. Remember, the CCMs are the pre-existing skate shell. Trues are made.
Build process. Are we talking options or how they're made?
How they're made.
Okay.
Who wins that? Okay, True. Now we're going to go for the options of when you're selecting a custom skate. Who has the options that you like the most? All right, cool.
So many options. It's just a
nice
joke.
And easy. This is where it gets a bit serious now. We're going to go for the fit of the skate. Who has the better fit? Okay. Who has the best on-ice performance?
It's tough. It's tough.
Who has the best comfort? Who has the best stiffness? Oh dear God. Who has the best durability in the time span that you've been using both the skates? Think about all of the elements of the skate, blade not included, the holder, the body of the boot, the liners, the tongues. Who's winning that? Okay, and then last one, order process. What was that like, and how was the time frame on ordering to getting the skates? Who wins that?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't think ordering either of these was difficult.
No, like when you placed the order,
oh,
how long did it take for you to get your custom skates?
Fair. Yeah, 2 weeks. It took 2 weeks. I was shocked.
Fair play. So I think that's a nice summary. If you had to name 5 things that you love about the CCM and 5 things that you don't like, what would that be?
See, it's very weird because they have a lot in common about what I like, but it's different in their own ways.
Yeah.
So if we were to name 5 things I like about these,
yep.
The foam.
Number 1.
The foam, like they're perfect for my ankles. They're cushioned. It feels lovely. Design.
Okay.
They look lovely. Tongue. I like how the tongue is. I think that's very hard to get a good tongue in a pair of skates.
Number 3.
Once again, the order process. The order process was quite easy. It was the shipping time that was quite difficult.
Yeah, like how it had the 3D render of what it looked like.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So the process of ordering, not shipping.
Okay.
So once again, the options were great.
Okay, that's 4. And what's the 5th thing that you like about them?
How long they've lasted, if I'm being honest.
Okay, that's perfect.
Because like we said, I've been through 6 pairs of skates in 9 months. So normally I use a pair of skates for 3 months. They're broken down. They're soft as a nice old cake, and they just fall apart. You know what I mean? Sure. Whereas these are still very stiff, still very usable.
And you've abused them.
I have abused them.
All right. So now 5 things that you aren't so happy about with the CCMs. Okay. The new dial, completely fair.
I don't like the new dial. It's too big. It's broke on.
It broke on mine as well. That's fair.
It broke on both my skates. Which for me scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to then use them because if my blade falls out,
you can't put it back in.
I'm stuffed.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Next thing you don't like.
How I experience a little bit of discomfort.
That's fair.
A couple of months in.
That's 2.
I mean,
is that it?
Inner soles. I don't like how thin CCM inner soles are.
Okay, so 3. So you got three negative things that you didn't like about them. All right, let's switch over.
And let's be honest, they're not terrible negative things.
No, they're not.
They're not terrible. It's a dial that can easily be changed.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
There's the dial, the discomfort, and
the discomfort.
What was it? The dial?
The inner sole. You can easily get different inner soles. I think you can actually order different inner soles with them.
You can, yeah. You can get.
There you go. So that was my own mistake.
That's fine. All right, and then move on to the trues now. So 5 things that you liked about these skates.
Ooh.
I can already tell you what the first dislike is going to be, but anyways, number 1. First thing you like about them.
The denseness of the foam. How nice the foam fits to my foot. And again, like I said, different.
Yeah.
But nice.
Okay.
Stiffness.
Okay.
A joke. Tongue. The comfort and protection of this tongue.
All right, that's
ridiculous. 3. Once again, durability. They've lasted so long, and I can't move them.
Yeah, they're tanks.
I actually do think they fit my foot a little bit better. So fit. I'm gonna put fit in there.
That's fine. 5. That's 5 things. Now let's go on to the things that you aren't so happy about with the trues.
Design.
Yeah, design. And then what's after that?
I mean, I can't. I think the releasable blade could be a little bit better.
It is a bit finicky.
But
it's secure.
And
it doesn't break.
Very true. Very true.
But it is annoying to get.
It's annoying. I have to unlace my skate or put a lace through it, pull it back, pop it out. Whereas the CCM, if it's not broken, you can just twist and pull out.
Yeah.
So they both have their ups, but they also have their downs. You can't put.
Nothing's perfect.
No.
But you were really apprehensive about those skates, and you're not now.
Yeah, I was very much, but I think that was mainly off a look.
Yeah.
I was like, the CCMs, my ASV Pros are so much more nicer. They look great, which they still do, but just the comfort of these are just ridiculous to my foot.
That's fair.
But aside from that, hopefully I've been able to answer all of the questions that you guys had about these particular skates. But if there's anything you feel like I missed out, please comment down below and let me know. If there's anything that you want to see next, please comment down below. But don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, and take care till the next one. Peace.